Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from the 11th group with the topic curriculum issues that will be explained by Muhammad Ikhsan, Maufiratul Hasanah, and Citra Muslifatul Afifah. Here I am, Maufiratul Hasanah, the first speaker will be explain you first about curriculum. Curriculum can be defined as the document, plan, or blueprint for instructional guide, which is used for teaching and learning to bring about positive and desirable learner behavior change. It can be regarded as the roadmap for the education of the learners. Meanwhile, the curriculum issue is problems of curriculum, such as making curriculum or even the problem in applying the curriculum in education. Here are some issues for curriculum. Number 1, issues of implementing school curriculum at different levels. And number 2, environmental issues and the school curriculum. And here I will explain you the point issues of implementing school curriculum at different levels. So the first is about curriculum overload. There exists curriculum overload at both the primary and the secondary school level. Curriculum overload occurs because of the high number of the subject stopover at both the junior and senior secondary school levels. At the primary school level, children are expected to offer 10 subjects. I noted that the content of our curriculum is satisfactory though overloaded. At the junior secondary school level, the young learners are expected to study and offer in the junior secondary school examination 12 to 13 subjects. This notwithstanding, some global and emerging issues such as family life education, citizenship education, environmental education. So the effect of this is poor performance of the students as a result of material knowledge of the content. In a bid to cover the content, most teachers neglect the practical aspect of the curriculum. This causes inability to transfer learning and solve individual and group problems. So in this case, education becomes dysfunctional. In order to solve this problem, a thematic approach to curriculum development can be employed. And the content is organized as core and optional contents. And number 2 is about large class population. Another issue in curriculum implementation is large class population. In the national policy on education, the recommended class size is 30. And this increase led to overcrowded classrooms, which are experienced today in all levels of education. Even in many pre-primary schools, a class is made up of 25 children when they should be at most 15 for effective teacher-pupil interaction. In this case, it is either that the proprietors want to maximize profit by not employing enough teachers, or that competent teachers are not available for employment, or that the available space is not adequate. And the awareness of the advantages of education has contributed to overcrowded classrooms, as everybody wants to go to school to be educated. The implications of this are that many more teachers should be produced and employed. It is even worse in the universities, where many students attend lectures without hearing the lecturers as a result of large class size. And some stand outside the room, peeping through the windows, taking note while standing. And number 3 is about dearth of instructional resources. Instructional resources are aids for effective teaching and learning. There is a perception from Nauji. He refers to instructional materials as devices that facilitate the transmission to a learner the facts, skill, attitudes, and values which promote understanding and appreciation of concepts. And it is evident that no curriculum can be implemented effectively without the consideration of necessary equipment and materials. Teachers employ this material in illustrating and explaining the content of a lesson, and learners interact with them. Learning materials generate interest and motivate the learners as well as create opportunity for active participation of the learners in the course of a lesson. And for the last is about teacher issues. The teacher is the major stakeholder in curriculum implementation. Curriculum implementation cannot be effectively carried out if the teacher variables such as competence, availability, attitude, dedication, and remuneration are faulty. No matter how lofty the educational goals are, how relevant the curriculum is, teachers are the determinants of even success in the school. The teacher is in a better position than any other person to know the learners, their needs and characteristics. A qualified and professionally trained teacher should be able to detect any organizational fault in curriculum and be able to effect changes. The teacher is a guide for learning, a motivator and facilitator of learning. At the secondary and tertiary levels of education, teacher quality and quantity, exposures, experiences, and attitude are yet to meet a good standard. I would say that these cognate factors have contributed to a great extent to examination malpractice.
Oke guys, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Citra. I am from 11 group. I will explain you about environmental issues and the school curriculum. Environment is very crucial to the teaching learning process for effective curriculum implementation. The environment must be adequately organized and arranged. I will categorize environment into physical, social, and psychological components. The human and material resource as well as the interaction and attitudinal behaviors in the classroom make up the classroom environment. For example, literate parents supervise their children's schoolwork and even teach them at home. They provide the necessary books and other facilities which promote learning. Also, higher socioeconomic families and can afford to provide the necessary resources for the children's education, thus contributing the curriculum implementation. To facilitate effective curriculum implementation, attention should be paid to curriculum goals. Okay, for the curriculum goals, there are two. For the first is implementation should be well planned, and the second is special classroom should be provided. Okay, guys. For the first, implementation should be well planned. For educational institution, planning strategic position in the education process. Educational planning provides clear direction in the process of organizing education, so the management of educational institution can be done more effectively and efficiently to complete the course of the planning agency that is needed. The planning will direct the right plan and in accordance with the goals of the institution itself. Related to planning give direction to achievement of system goals because the planning of the system will run well if there is careful planning. Planning will be considered mature and good if necessary and not in the planning itself. However, discussion about the challenges that are held by their daily life, education planning still produce more complementary factor or elaboration of leadership policies. So, the often the objectives are not optimal. One reason is that is the educational planners still lack understanding of the process and planning in a more complex context. So, in addition, the position of the planning file is not yet a key factor determining an educational relationship. Let us explain about implementation should be well planned. And the second is special and non-special classroom should be provided in an educational service in important study to meet the needs of children special need or IBK who have their own unique in types and characteristics. Some students and distinguish them from normal children in general. This is situation requires an adjustment in provision of educational service need. So the educational service this is give special and special classroom should be provided because this situation requires an adjustment in the provision of education service needed. The diversity occurs. It is sometimes difficult for teachers in effort to provide appropriate education service. However, if the teacher has the knowledge and understanding how uh, understanding of how to provide good service, it will be able to be optimally carried out. In this part of the unit, you will study general concept about educational service for children with special needs, which are accompanied by several illustrations that will make it easier for you to study them. So guys, um, in addition, education service model that are suitable for children with special needs will also be present. So there is no or is that that discrimination with someone else. So same. Okay guys, maybe that's all from me. If I have any mistake for you, and I will say wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and will explain by my partner.
Well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. In this COVID-19 pandemic, we still have chance to continue our discussion, and I hope all of you guys to stay at home and keep your health. Well, I am the last speaker of this group. My name is Muhammad Ikhsan. Would like to explain you the planning of making curriculum for intercultural communication competence lessons. So, talking about curriculum, as the first speaker said that curriculum is plan or document for each lessons in education. So, the curriculum is the plan how the learning process run in the class. That's curriculum. Well, talking about curriculum for intercultural communication, because intercultural communication, one of the focus is on communication with someone who has different culture background with us. Of course, the curriculum is also different. Well, planning a curriculum for intercultural communication competence. The first step, it has to be attention paid attention for someone who makes curriculum is the geopolitical context. Well, the geopolitical context, it means someone who makes the curriculum has to know the situation of a student, because the student who was doing communication with native face to face, it I mean they have different need with someone who only learn English such as lingua franca. So that's why someone who makes curriculum has to know for whom the curriculum itself, because both of the students, I mean some students who always doing communication with native with someone who only learn English such as lingua franca has, I mean, have different needs. So that's why for whom the curriculum itself is really important to be known by someone who makes curriculum. And the second one is the learning context. Well, learning context, it means this factor concern on analyzing of learning location. So the location is really important to be known by someone who makes curriculum. That's why analyzing in everything is really important. In that location of student who learn about intercultural communication, I mean the media in the location is limited or not. Because of why, talking about culture, for example, we are as English student which learn, we are Indonesian which learn about English language, really need media to know the culture of English itself, because our native is not English. So knowing the location is really important for someone who makes curriculum for intercultural communication, especially because one of the focus is on communication with someone who has different cultural background. Well, the third is uh, the development factor. Well, the development factor, it means someone who makes curriculum has to analyze the cognitive and effective development of learners of intercultural communication competence. So here, someone who like to make curriculum has to analyze the effective development or effective way of intercultural communications lessons, because sometimes student has different rate in experience of culture. For example, I am Madurans and I learn in Java. Of course, I know the culture of Java by myself, not only by media, because I stay there. I stay in Java, for example. So, by this experience, someone who makes curriculum has to know that, I mean, the student which has different rate in experience of culture. So in that education, for example, in that education, the student from the native of the culture or from another culture, so it is really important to be known by someone who makes curriculum. And the last step of planning in making curriculum for intercultural communication is identification of objectives. Well, the identification of objectives exactly has to pass by any pressing stage of analysis above, as I have explained before. Well, the curriculum has to know, has the curriculum, especially for intercultural communication, has to have the goal. What is the goal of the curriculum? What is the goal in applying the curriculum for a student in that class or in the education, for example? So each curriculum has to have it, because one of the focus of intercultural communication is on how we can respect someone's culture background in communication. So that's why the preceding stage of analysis is really important to make good goal in that curriculum. So it is one of the identification of objectives. That's why if the curriculum is good and the teacher apply uh, like the curriculum in the class or in the education, I can imagine that the student will master intercultural communication competence listen well, because all steps that I have said to you is really important to be done by someone who would like to make curriculum, especially for intercultural communication competence. So that's why uh, I do hope you or whatever would like to make curriculum for intercultural information has to analyze or pay attention to all that steps. Well, perhaps that's all. What can I deliver in this occasion for you guys? And if I have some mistakes, I really apologize to you all. And the last I say is Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.